Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and tonight I'm delighted to be joined by Tommy Sheridan, where we'll be talking to one of Scottish football's greatest ever players, Rose Riley. Welcome to Barra's Art and Design, Rose Riley. It's a great pleasure to have you on the show.
The pleasure's mine.
Well, you know, I was looking back at your incredible career, and we'll be talking about it. I just wondered, though, when you were younger, who was your footballing hero?
Footballing hero was Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson, because I was very young at the time and unknown by my parents. I come from Stewarton, and I had a paper round and a roll round and a milk round, anything to get some extra pocket money for my football boots or whatever, because we couldn't afford for any extras. But I was always putting a wee bit away to get a bus up to Glasgow to see Celtic, who were my team. I must have been about 12 years of age. There was a wee bus at the bottom of the road that used to go to Glasgow, but went through Dunlop, Lockton, it stopped at every tree along the way. It must have took me about 3 hours. Basically, you were jet lagged before you got to Glasgow, or bus lagged. And I always remember it went to, the bus terminus was Anderson Quay, but I didn't know where Parkhead was, but all the men were walking there. It was all men, there were no women there, with their Celtic scarves, so I just followed them. Gets to Parkhead, and I had a haircut like a wee boy, because I was playing at the wee boys' football team. And can I get a lift there, Mr. Right, come on, son, let the wee boy in and whatever. And there I was in front of the jungle. And the teams come out, and I could actually touch Jimmy Johnson. I was so near. And his skill was just blind spelling. And I always remember he would dribble half the team, the opponent's team, and turn back instead of scoring. And Big Jock was shouting, "Get that fucking ball in the back of the net." And I thought this was great, because he was an entertainer. And for me, football is entertainment. If I'm not going to be entertained, I'm not going to go. And he was, apart from your Billy McNeil's and the whole Lisbon Lion teams, they were all, but there was nobody like Jinky.
You know, when I think back to what you've said there, a couple of wee things jump out. You were determined to go, regardless. So you've got your own paper round and roll round. Yeah. You make your own way to the game at a young age. Yeah. Nothing was going to stop you, Rose, was it?
No, absolutely. And my forte is I never ever told anybody what I was doing, but I'm still like that nowadays. I mean, I'd never admit that I was coming to talk to Tommy Sheridan anyway. No, but apart from joking, I would never ask, because I felt as if somebody would betray me, or it would take away the energy from what I was trying to do. And I remember coming back home, and my dad, he was an insurance man for the Provident. He was a Provi man, and he was in for his work, and he would fling me some money to go and get the Evening Times. And he would tell me that Celtic had won that day and how they'd played, not knowing that I was there.
Wow.
So I would get my football, and I would play keep you up for about a mile to go and get his paper, keep you up in the paper shop, and they'd say, "You get to hell with that ball, Rose Riley." I always remember that. Get his Evening Times and away back up.
That determination, though, they keep you up, he's all the way to the shop.
Yeah. Absolutely pure joy. I had to copy Jinky, didn't I? I had to do something. You reenact. If you're going to see a film, there's a way and you reenact it. If it's Rob Roy or something that we used to watch, had to reenact what Jinky was doing.
The inspiration of Jimmy Johnson, the number 7 on his shorts, Tommy. And when I look at the determination, I want to pinpoint that, because you've shown that throughout your entire life, Rose, to become a World Cup winner, to become one of the greatest footballers that Scotland's ever produced. Was that just in you from a young age? Can you ever remember a time of self-doubt? Because it doesn't sound as
I don't have self-doubt.
You've never had it?
Never had it. Always believed in myself. And that's why I never ever told anybody my ambitions or whatever, because my self-belief, nobody else believed in me, first of all. And I used to get physically punished for playing football. I don't say it was a hard upbringing. I was the strange one of the family. I was the weirdo of the wee village. I was everything, and I got everything flung at me. I got physically punished, got bullied, got called the weirdo, the lazy, whatever I was doing, getting grown up. But I didn't care. I used to smile at everybody. Kill with kindness, that's my motto. Don't lose negative energy and thoughts or anything. I was on a mission, I was going to do it.
You know, when you fast forward to now, Tommy, the reason that I think a massive reason is because you were pivotal in changing people's opinions on women in football. Tom.
Well, Mark,
you took the flak.
Listen, before Rose says anything else, I feel like a Wayne in a sweetie shop, because I've wanted to have Rose on the podcast since we started the podcast, because she is an utter inspiration. Utter inspiration. Rose, I don't want to blow smoke up your arse, and I know that you know the difference between somebody taking the piss and somebody not taking the piss, but your life story is inspirational, pal. You just inspire so many people. We were talking earlier about the play that was written about her by Maureen Carr and others, and Alicia Smith saying they want to get into the schools. They need to get into the schools, because if there's any young females out there who have got ambitions and dreams, they need to see this woman's life story, because she knocked down barriers. There wasn't a barrier that she wasn't prepared to knock down. And I just love the fact. I'm ashamed, by the way. I'm ashamed up until a few years ago I didn't know who Rose Reilly was. She's our best footballing export from Scotland. We only have one World Cup winner who's Scottish. And there she's sitting there. And most people don't even know about her. It is shamefaced. If she was a man, we would all know about you. We would all know about you. But because she's a woman, and therefore, from my point of view, I'm so glad that to be in the presence of greatness, because that's what she is to me. She's just absolutely brilliant. And how many? 8 titles, 4 or 5 cups. People talk about playing too much football. Rose used to play on a Saturday with an Italian team and then go and play at night with a French team in the same day.
It's the next day.
Sorry, it's the next day. But the point I'm making is,
people
saying, oh, one game a week's too much, we need to watch. She's playing in Italy on the Saturday and then flying or going to the train in France.
Flying.
To play in France. 2 teams, honestly. You mean you must have, Rose, what was your fitness regime? Tell me, I know that.
Well, my fitness regime had so much love for the beautiful game and respect. I used to train on my own in the morning. I'd run and then train my team in the late afternoon. Always did that to better myself.
Here's a wee thing. Just tell me if I'm wrong, because obviously everybody's got their own routine. But I remember I used to run, and a couple of people in football says to me, no, don't do that, because then you become one-paced. And I think they call it fat-leg running, whereby 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, so that you mimic the game, because the game's like that, isn't it? It speeds up. Did you do that as well? No,
I did quite a lot of distance running in the morning, because I was building up my stamina. Brilliant. Okay, and then all the speedy stuff with the ball at our feet was done with the team. So I was combining the two.
Brilliant.
You need stamina, then you need your how would you say it? It's game pace. You get that with your football trainer.
I don't want to jump ahead, Paul John, but you talked about shooting. You're playing football.
Yeah.
Originally, was there a female team and a male team?
No. When I grew up in Sturton, told by my mum, because I can't remember this, when I was 3 years of age, I wandered away from the family home, and she got me at the local football pitch, which is now the state-of-the-art Rose Reilly Sports Centre.
Brilliant. Excellent.
It's magical.
Excellent.
Then one Christmas, I'm about 5-year-old, and you write a letter to Santa as you do and ask for a football, and I got a doll. Absolutely got it. I went out with my doll. There was this wee boy with a ball, and he wanted my doll. Love to know who he was nowadays, mind you. So we swapped. So I used to sleep with the ball, Tommy, for 2 reasons. First, because I was in love with it, and second, I was afraid my mum would take it off me because she didn't want me to play football, because it was unknown that we girls played football. Anyway, when I was 6, the local boys team, the manager, John Roy, who I'll be forever grateful, asked me if I would play for Sturton Boys Club. And I readily agreed. And they said, but you need to go to the local barber's, get a boy's haircut, short back and sides, change your name for Rose to Ross. I'll give you the football strip before the game. You can't come in the dressing room with the boys. And that's it. So off I goes to the barber's shop. obviously not telling anybody. And I said, of course, I was in Newman, Stuart, and I said to the barber, my mammy said that I have to get a boy's haircut because I'm going to play with Stuart and Boys Club, and she'll bring the money after, because I had no money. So the barber gives me the boy's haircut. I went into the barber's, his name's Davy Hewitt. I went into the barber's as Rose and come out as Ross. Because back home...
Stars in your eyes.
Aye, my mother nearly killed me, right? And the barber, she never paid him. So there was one particular game, I'd run riot and I'd scored about 8 goals, and there was a Celtic scout there who was up to sign wee boys in S forms, which would be school forms, to start their Celtic career. And they said, we're going back to the wee number 7. I want to sign the wee number 7.
Oh, was that the number you played?
Number 7.
Probably.
So they said, the manager said, the coach, but in the days, a coach for us was a bus, but a posh one that you went your holidays in. It wasn't, anyway, manager had said, no, it's a wee lassie. He said, no, the one that scored all the goals, he says, it's still a wee lassie. So I spoke to the Celtic scout, and I was gutted. I thought, if I was good enough for Celtic, why can't I play? So about 6 months ago, I get summoned, that's a word that I'm going to use, to go to Celtic Park. And was in the boardroom, and they asked me if I would be the Celtic Women's Ambassador, which I was absolutely honoured to be. So they come out with a presentation box with a Celtic scarf and the Hoops jersey, the number 7 in the back, and Riley. And they apologised for being 60 years late. Will you sign for Celtic, Rose?
Brilliant.
That's amazing.
Brilliant, Rose.
You know, with these stories, Rose, that there's often an individual who is a massive cog in the wheel. And that, for me, it seems to be John Roy. In a time, Tommy, where nobody was giving women the time of day when it came to football. Like, even when you went to the game, it was really a man's world, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Yet he broke down all the barriers to make sure you played. And you've got to give him the recognition.
Absolutely, because a lot of the parents were against me playing because their wee boy wouldn't be playing, because I was playing. And as I said, I was getting bullied because, or mistreated, call it what you want. I used to go to Command, but I started going to Command up to the primary school, St Columbus, because as a Catholic, we couldn't go to you went to the Catholic school. So it was about 5 miles away. You get the bus into... We left home, I was about 4.5. We left at 8:30 in the morning, was back at 5:30 at night as Wayne's, and just you walk to the school kind of thing. So the first day, it was separate playgrounds. The wee boys at one end and the wee lassies at the other, and we couldn't interact with each other at playtime. But the wee boys were playing football, so off I went to play with them at lunchtime. And I come back in and I get the belt, physically punished. And I remember the first time I cried, first because it was sore, and second, this wee boy, this wee shite was laughing at me. That's when I learned, at barely 5 years of age, that emotion was weakness. And I decided not to show any emotion after that. I went into that playground every day. I played at football, and every day I got belted. And I just used to stare the headmaster out. Until one day, he said, "You're never going to learn, Rose Riley." And I said, "No, sir, it's you that's not going to learn. I just want to play at football. I'm doing nothing wrong."
You know,
do you see what I mean?
I know.
Do you see what I mean?
I know.
But inspirational. I mean, talk about barriers. I mean, absolutely. I mean, where do you get that mental strength from, Rose? That's extraordinary mental strength.
Well, I don't think there's no recipe or anything, Tommy. There's no reason why I was like that. I mean, how can you research how a person acts, even as a Wayne? I don't know. My mum was a strong woman. She wasn't a sportswoman in any way. She had to bring 8 kids up. Maybe that's a feat within itself. I'm from Irish origin. I don't know. I just single-minded, as was saying before, whenever I had a hurdle in front of me, I never used to try and jump over it, get under it, get around it. I would just smash it down.
But the legacy of what you did is the success of women's football in Scotland today. You know, because without someone breaking down those barriers, it wouldn't have progressed. But you did have to leave Scotland to find success. Before doing that, though, you played against England. Yeah. Was that in Greenock?
Yeah, well, first of all, after the boys' team, there was a women's team started in Sturton. In Sturton in the days, there were 35 wool factories, came surrounded with sheep, Ayrshire bumpkins and all that. So there's 35 wool factories, and there used to be buses coming for the valleys, like Wolston and whatever, to work in these factories. And it was all women to work with the wool. And they had a netball team. Then somebody said, why do you form a football team for a charity match? So they formed a football team, and I heard about it. I mean, there were no phones, there were nothing these days. It was just word of mouth. And I went over to the pitch, maybe about 7 at the time, and I asked them if I could play with them. They were all grown women. I mean, the youngest was about 20, the oldest about 50, whatever. It was all factory workers. And they looked at me and they said, no, you're a wee boy, it's a women's team. So I already had gender issues, or I'd made gender issues. I'd have been whatever you want. You know how it's in vogue nowadays, the gender thing. I'd have been anything but you wanted, just to play at football, basically. So I got sent away because I was a wee boy kind of thing. And I said, no, I'm a wee lassie. My name's Rose. You're too wee, come back in a couple of years. Now, 2 years and half a second later, I was back. And I started playing with women at 9. Now, Tom, it was the first time I'd been in a dressing room because I'd never been in before.
Right, of course, because you always go with your strip on.
Aye, so off I went, and of course it was all grown women. Now, in the days, you didn't see your parents in a state of undress or anything. Now and again, my mammy would ask me to do or undo or corset. And I remember getting in the dressing room, there was all these grown women, and they'd done these big white latex bras. And I'm looking about me, and I thought, I do the wrong mammies. That was how naive I was, because I'd never seen anything like the light apart from my mammy. So I started playing with the women's team, and the SFA had banned women's football, so we didn't have any recognised football pitches. We couldn't have any referees. But we started up a league, well, obviously, me, but the women that went before us. And there was a league going as far away as Aberdeen, Dundee, just like the men's league. And we would have raffles and whatever just to fund our buses to get wherever. With no nets in the goals or anything like that. There were no crowds, but a man and a dog just watching. Maybe he would turn into the referee. So eventually there was an international match arranged at Greenock, Ravenscraig Stadium. The reason we could play there, Tommy, was a stand. It was a proper football stadium. It's because it was owned by the council and still is. So we could play there. It was because it was nothing to do with SFA. We got our own strips, badges, sewed on and whatever. And we played against England, who were so many years ahead of us, as they always are in football, women or men. So we played against England at Greenock, and we get piped onto the pitch and whatever. There's not a more prouder moment when you put on your country's shirt and you go and represent your country. So we goes up 1-0, we Mary Carr with a diving header, and we were up 1-0, and then I scored direct from a corner kick. And before you asked me, I did try it. I used to practice all the time. And I just wanted the referee blow the final whistle to say, Rose Reilly beat England. Get up, you. But it wasn't the case. They were stronger than us, and they ran out 3-2 winners.
Ah, you bugger.
But it was a great advert for the women's game, I must say. Then I realised I had no future in Scotland because I wanted to be a professional footballer. But before that, going back a couple of years, I was also an athlete. And I was in the shortlist for the Commonwealth Games.
Wow, Rose. What, running?
Pentathlon. Right. I was an all-rounder. So I went up to St Andrews.
What age were you here doing about this time?
15. 16. Anyway, I took up to St Andrews for a week's training session. So off I goes to St Andrews, and I didn't have a trachea or spikes or whatever. I was just, my dad had got me these wee black, well, my dad didn't get them, with the wee black sannies, gutties, and he put elastic bands around it in case they fell off. So off I goes to St Andrews, and it was all private school girls who were making a fool of me. They were off in Beard saying and whatever. And they were just staring at me. I still had my wee boy's haircut. Naive. So off I goes, and I could hear them sniggering at me. I didn't care. So I remember the first event, we all had to try the 400, well, it wasn't metres in the days, it was yards, 400 yards. And this lassie said to me, Rose, did you hear the coach said you have to go slow the first 100 because you need your strength for the last 100, you know? And I said, oh, I didn't hear that. So he fires the pistol and off we goes, and they're legging it. And I thought, yeah, bitch. and overtook them and I won.
Wow, brilliant.
Then it was a short putt.
This is at St Andrews.
Aye, the short putt. And what weight is your putt at home? I says, I've not got one, it's a rock. Because I used to practice with a rock.
Right.
This was Kenny Phillips now, my coach, my athletics coach, who believed in me. And he just used to write me in for all the boys' races and I'd win.
You're up at St Andrews. You're surrounded by all the hobnobs that have all had their wee hand in life and you've just been up there and you've rattled their cages.
Yeah, and the coach was John Anderson, who recently died.
Right.
I think he took part, he was the what was it, had the...
Gladiators.
Wow.
Remember?
No, I can't remember. There you
the
go.
big TV show was on.
I remember the show, but who was John Anderson?
On it.
Tommy's too young for these kind of things.
John Fashanu and Ulrika Johnson.
See, before we go on, I will get killed if I don't bring this up.
Yeah.
Right? So I need to bring this up.
Yeah.
Because you've just talked there a wonderful story about Scottish international games, right? And I've got a huge bugbear in my life, and that's one of my sisters, my older sister Lynn, who played with Dumbarton ladies football team, a goalkeeper, and Lynn got a cap for Scotland. Now I played football all my damn life. I wanted to be a professional footballer, but she's the only one in the household that's got a Scottish cap. So I need to bring this in.
Well,
she'll go mental saying, "Why did you not mention my Scotland cap?" So there you go, Lynn. I've mentioned it.
I love you, Lynn.
Brilliant.
Great achievement.
Brilliant.
You know, every single step of your story, every step of the way, you're coming up against challenges, people not believing in you. And eventually you need to leave Scotland because, as you say, you know...
Well, in the meantime, I was getting selected for the Commonwealth Games, right? So John Anderson had said to me, you'll need to give up playing football, Rose, because you're developing too much thigh muscle.
Right.
Football legs, as I call them. Still got them. And of course, my parents were delighted. I was up at St Andrews Athletics. They didn't want me to play football because it wasn't the done thing kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I gave up the football for a week, and then I gave up my athletics career.
I didn't know this, Rose. I don't know if maybe I've just not done enough research, but I've not read any of this stuff.
Yeah.
So you could have been a professional athlete.
Yeah.
But instead...
Chose football
chose
where there was
football.
nothing in the horizon. There was nothing in Scotland for me. So there was one certain day. In the meantime, I was at St Joseph's High School in Kilmarnock, and I got expelled. I was barely 15 for playing football.
Seriously, you get expelled for playing football?
Yeah. So...
Belted at the primary school, expelled from the second. Yep.
Belted. Everything. So I get expelled. So I had to get a job. So I just knew how to play football. So I got a job in the BMK, which is a big carpet factory in Kilmarnock. And I always remember walking for the bus station about 2 miles to the factory. And I was always dreaming. So in my head, I was dreaming I was abroad and I was a professional footballer, which I always arrived at the factory and I hadn't realised I'd been walking that lane because this was my head going these places, always visualising what I wanted to do. Got to the factory, I started my job, and there was the men played at football at the Howard Park at lunchtime, and they said, will you play with Rose? I says, of course. Where I honed my skills, Tommy, because they had big steel toe cap bits, and they would put the boot in.
And you were about 15 or 16 by this time?
Yeah.
Do you know about that?
So I...
What about physically? How had you developed some, strength-wise in terms of you'd done the athlete? Were you fast?
I was fast. Fast. And they would knock me about, which I preferred because they just treated me as one.
You were accepted.
So there was one particular game, there was another factory waiting to go on after us, and it had been the first time, and it was the Johnny Walker's Whisky Bond. And they asked me if I would play with them. So I never went back to the job and I played with Johnny Walker's. So I went back to get my stuff at the end, the Johnny Walker's game, and I get sacked for playing football. So I goes back home, tells my ma, Mummy, I got the sack. What for? Playing football. And she went berserk at me. I said, Mum, I was playing for Johnny Walker's, the Real Madrid of the factory teams.
Brilliant.
Why don't you understand? Anyway, there was I didn't know what to do with myself, and I always remember my daddy was reading the Daily Record, and I'd been kneeling reading the back pages. And they were speaking about the European football, like the Real Madrids, AC Milan and whatever, the men obviously. And it was Stan Shivers from the Daily Record that had signed it. And I thought, I wonder if there's any women's teams abroad. So I got the bus, my famous bus, went up to Anderson Quay, still didn't understand why it was spelt with a Q. And off I went. Goes to the Daily Record, and I says to the secretary, could I speak to Stan Shivers, please? And she said, have you got an appointment? I said, yes. Just winged it. And I went, massive room, all these typewriters, smoke everywhere. It was all men with fags, typing away and batting away and swearing at each other. But in the corner, I seen Stan Shivers with his big Burberry coat, and he was smoking a cigar. I thought, that'll be him. He didn't even give me what it looked like. Off I went. I said, hello, Stan. I says, I'm Rose Reilly, and I want to be a professional footballer. And he looked at me, and he didn't laugh at me or whatever. And he took me on. He said, let me investigate. And I come back about a week later, whatever, to go back. And he'd found this team that was semi-professional. It was Stade de Reims in France. He said, look, you're too young. You can't go alone. You need a teammate or a friend to go with you. So my best pal at the time was wee Edna Nealis from Glasgow. And she was a brilliant player. She actually looked like Jink and played like him. We had hair.
How did you meet her?
I played with Western United in Glasgow.
Right, just because of the Glasgow connection, that's why I was asking.
I'd left Stuart and went to play with Western, and I'd met Edna. And my dad always used to say, when I came to play with Glasgow, he said, you watch your Glaswegians because they're as wide as a Clyde. And we'd a wee river, and he said, we've just got the Stuart and the River Annick and Stuart. So I used to judge folk with the size of the bloody river they had in their town. So anyway, I says to Edna, the Whisky Connection, she worked at the Black and White factory in Steps.
Okay.
Rangers Daft.
Oh, no.
She organised the Rangers supporters bus and all that for the Whisky factory. But anyway, we were best mates.
Everybody's getting perfections.
And I said, Edna, I'm going abroad to play football. Do you want to come with me? And she said, where? I says, France. She says, we don't speak French. I says, we speak football language, the international language, which is football. Anyway, the Daily Record sponsors us and flew us with Stan.
I didn't know this.
Flies us to Reims. First of all, we meet Stan, and Stan said, I've arranged a trial, got to know Edna. It was Stade de Reims. She says, we don't do trials. Gallus, wide as a Clyde, Edna. Anyway, off we goes, and we get signed at half-time. Comes back home to get our stuff, and I think my mother and father were just glad to get rid of me. Ciao, arrivederci, au revoir, Rose. Obviously, they weren't, but you know, they didn't know what to do with me. So Edna goes to whatever woman wants to get her Parisian outfit. She arrives at the airport like the Bay City Rollers with the big flares.
And of course, there's some people watching this show of a certain generation who won't even know what every woman wants is, because it's closed now.
They haven't lived, let's say. So Edna, and I just had on my track and whatever, and my dad had given me his wee kind of cardboard suitcase with the wee clips on it. So off we goes to the airport. It was Abbotssinch at the time, which basically it was a runway in a hut or something. My suitcase burst open, and my dad gets his braces off and his belt and secured my Louis Vuitton suitcase. Aye, because he had the double whammy. So we starts our career in Reims. We played there for
But wait a minute. What age are you? 17?
16, 17.
Fearless.
Right.
Fearless, Tommy.
Come on, Paul. I mean, now, I was saying to you earlier, nowadays, young people going abroad, okay, but in that time,
just focused.
So incredible. Focused. Absolutely incredible, Rose.
The best bit was 4 months down the line, then AC Milan seen us playing and bought us, just like professional players. I didn't even tell my parents I'd changed countries. I just went. Now, I remember arriving, the plane landed in Linate Airport, which is right bang in the centre of Milan. And I remember walking across the tarmac. There were no wee buses there nowadays to take you to your destination. And I felt I felt at home. Now I have no connections with Italy. No even ex-spaghetti hoops. Nothing. Just no connection with Italy. And I felt it was like a mother's embrace.
Right.
But in my case, slapping the back of my head, because that was what my mum would have done with me. So we starts our career in Milan. So first game at the majestic San Siro Stadium. So the team's on the dressing room and I wanders onto the pitch. So I'm on my own and I go to win goals and I'm saying to myself, I'm going to score here and then take possession of the whole pitch, go to the other goals, I'm going to score here. Then I was overwhelmed by the size of the San Siro, which holds 80,000 tifosi. That's fans for you, Tommy. So I closed my eyes and I thought, it's only 2 goal post rows and a ball, just like Martin Stewart. So that's how I dealt with it. After a few games, Edna got homesick and goes back home. So I'm living in Milan on my own, in a hotel, and I used to speak to myself in the mirror at night. But never in a sad way. I wasn't sad. It was my way of communicating because my teammates didn't speak English. I didn't speak Italian. So that was me. I couldn't phone home. We didn't have a phone at home. There was no communication with my family, apart from the wee blue airmail letters, transparent. I used to think the pilot would read them in the wee hour. So it took a fortnight to get there and then a fortnight for my parents' response. And then one day I seen a newspaper, a pink newspaper, gigantic newspaper, and it was called La Gazzetta dello Sport. And it was a daily football paper. And I thought, my God, that's great. So I bought it, but then I couldn't read it. So I bought a wee dictionary and I thought, I'll learn 3 words a day. I'm too thick for 4. So that's what I did. But here I wasn't thick. I wasn't educated. And I learned my language right away.
Self-taught. That's
absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And all at this time, I keep going back to this, Paul John, I apologise for this, but I keep going back and reminding everybody the age you were at this time, because you're only 17, 18 at this time, right? Yeah. 17, I mean, what are you doing at 17, 18, Paul John? It's certainly no learning a language of my own, you know what I mean?
Giving up my paper round.
Giving up your paper round.
At that age.
Well, no, that's what you were doing, Tommy.
Oh, no, don't ask that. There's young people watch this show, we can't do it. But the point is, he's nonchalant. We walked out of the San Siro. I mean, San Siro, honestly.
That must have been a test for most, I think, Rose, when your pal decides, I'm going home. That was a big test because it would have been easy to buckle for most people. You know, in a foreign land, not knowing the lingo, and your pal's away home. But
it wasn't an issue for me.
You got through that as well.
Of course I missed it, but it wasn't an issue. I was living the dream. I was a professional footballer, and in women's football, it was the nation to be in the whole world, let's say, was Italy, professional football. And, you know, the Italians, you think they're male chauvinists and whatever, but they embraced us because they knew we could play football. And I was one of the 40 foreigners that played in the league. In the meantime, the SFA...
Oh, I'm glad. I was about to interrupt you to ask you about this.
Never you interrupt me, boy. At your peril. So,
yeah, she's kicking under the table. She's still kicking.
The SFA had banned me for life for playing for my country.
See, I wanted to get this bit in.
Actually called Sin Died in the days. With no explanation, nothing. I just thought maybe because I turned professional, and how dare I, as a women's footballer, try and better myself, Scottish footballer. They banned me for life for playing for my country.
See, at this point, right, just for playing football, you're bullied, you're battered at the school with a belt, you're expelled from secondary school, you're sacked, and now you're sin-died. Every step of the way, Rose, people are trying to stop you.
Yeah.
But nothing would stop you.
No.
How did you embrace the culture over in Italy?
Overnight. When you Rome do as the Romans do, started drinking me espresso coffees, ate whatever they were eating, went to big fancy restaurants. Because I remember when I was wee, I went to the library in Stuart and I found the Stanley Matthews book.
He was ahead of the game, wasn't he?
He was ahead of the game, and I remember reading it, and every morning he opened up his bedroom window and he was deep breathing, you know. There were no, how would you say, nobody told you what to do in the days kind of thing, like sports scientists and all this kind of stuff. So I would open my bedroom window and I had 4 sisters sleeping in the same room. and the icy blast would fly in the window. And
they slapped you.
I could hear them saying, "Mammy, she's got that window open again."
She's breathing all heavy.
Aye. Anyway, then I read that he had a steak every night for his tea. So I says, "Mammy, you need to get me a steak every night for my tea." Well, there's 10 years in the house with my mum and dad. And she says, "You're beating bloody mince like the rest of us." I says, "But Stanley Matthews has a steak every night." She says, "Well, you can ask him if he can fund
Send
you
you
to
them.
get a steak." And I thought, I had the most cruelest mother in the world. I was just a vain at this time. So anyway, so back to Milan. I went to a restaurant every day on my own for lunch. What do you think I had? Steak.
Brilliant.
Every day.
And
So
what
I
about
was
your training
reliving-
regime now? Are you still going in the morning and training? Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Running in the streets of Milan. It
And,
wouldn't get any
and
better.
were you now as fast as you had been, like in terms of relativity, or were you finding now that there were players there that were as fast as you
No,
were?
I was the fastest.
Brilliant. See?
No, worked at it. I obviously had a natural talent,
Yes.
whatever, for whatever.
Yes.
So I'd started off playing for Italy. It was 5 years down the line. Anyway, when I started my career, I'd won 8 Serie A titles.
Never mind. See this? Anyway, I want to eat. Rose,
For
don't
Italian-
I mean, absolutely brilliant. 8 titles.
So the Italian Federation summoned me. It's like summoned to Celtic Park, summons me to Rome, to the big offices, and the president, il presidente of the Italian women's football, was this lawyer, this tall, handsome man with black, slick back hair, like something like the Sopranos. So I goes into his office, and it's all big Greek gods, naked men everywhere. No, real men, the statues, obviously. Just like going in your wee offices, you know, like the BMK factory where I get my books. So in I goes, and he didn't ask me if I wanted to play for Italy. He says, "Sediti, Rose," a big booming voice. I sits down, he says, "You're going to play for Italy." That was me tell. So who was I to say no? Because he'd heard that I was banned for life for playing for Scotland. So I started out citizenship and whatever to play for Italy. So starts playing for Italy. So we won the Mondialito, which was the unofficial first World Cup. And it was always a Scottish heart beating under an Italian jersey. I always say that.
You know, again, you won the World Cup. The only Scottish footballer ever to have won a World Cup. How did the Italian players accept you?
Well, they didn't at the start. They didn't. I remember I had to meet up with them in a hotel in Venice. This was my first game. Some of them were my teammates, because I was playing obviously there. And I always remember arriving the scene with my Italian tracksuit on, and they must have arranged it all that the other players were there before, and then I walks in, and I could hear the whisper. I mean, they didn't want me there, right? I wasn't Italian. So sits down, whatever done him, whatever, and I stood up. I said, "Excuse me, could we all have a meeting, please?" And the coach said, "Aye, okay." I said, "No, you're not invited. It's just me and the girls." And we went in a room, and I said, "Look, the president asked me if I'd play for Italy, which is a great honour." I said, "I'm not here to take anybody's place. I'm here to help you if I can, but I'd like you to help me to settle in." Then they started slapping me in the back and whatever.
And did you communicate in Italian to them at
Just
that time?
Italian. God, aye. Fluent.
And by,
I think that's why they accepted me, because my Italian was just like theirs, basically.
You'd made the effort, but when you go to that country, you'd made the effort to learn their language as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
and in the World Cup final,
Yeah.
West Germany,
Yeah, West
2-1,
Germany.
1
Great.
assist, 1 goal.
Aye, I remember getting, we were getting laid out, you know, the big flags are there, and the Germans are gigantic. Just kind of looking at us, massive team, great team. The old West Germany, you know, the wall was still there and all that. You're kind of a bit about that day.
Yeah, yep.
So it was a difficult game. And I had 1 assist and 1 goal. Remember after the match, of course, you're kind of walking in there. You can't describe it, right? So there was a wee guy in a wheelchair greeting a wee Italian tifoso a fan, and he was crying with emotion, sat at my medal off, and I put it around his neck, and I thought, I've won the World Cup. He'll never win a World Cup, but he's got a World Cup medal.
That's incredible. I was going to ask about, medals and
no, I never ever kept any. I gave everything away. Strips, medals, a lot. I don't have any. And I don't need to walk in the room and say, oh, by the way, you were all right, hen. Don't need that. Don't like it. And when I come back home, I remember I get interviewed by a newspaper. This guy came into my house and he said, oh, where's all your medals and whatever? And by this time, I was inducted into the Hall of Fame at Hampden. Most of them didn't want me there because, I was stepping in their virgin territory, let's say. How dare you? A woman's not allowed. It's a man's game and all that. And it my wee Hall of Fame trophy in a cabinet. And that's where my medals. I says, you see everything I've won? I don't need to keep them all. I just need that.
When I'm thinking about you over there in Italy, and the Italian game in the 80s was huge. Yeah. But there was big crowds when you were playing over in Italy, wasn't there? We had 20,000 average at my home games. And it was a time where I was playing in Lecce, that's the deep south of Italy, and when Reims got back in touch and asked me if I would play with them, I said, no, I'm settled in Italy. They said, no, we're playing a Sunday night before the men's game, the big games. You're playing a Saturday afternoon. You can fly out to Paris on a Sunday morning after wherever you've been playing in Italy, and we'll pick you up and play wherever we were playing. I said, all right. So it was half bag world travel. I had my French bag and football bits on one side and my Italian the other. And I was always on my own. I had my wee Walkman with my music on it. And off I went, on my own again, and I would play in the Italian league in the Saturday afternoon and the French and the Sunday night. I'd stay in France until the Tuesday, fly back to Italy and start my training with the Italian team. And then in the same year, I won the league in the two countries until they banned me for health and safety or some crap that they'd invented. So they banned you from playing in France?
I know how to pick a country, whatever. Always faceless men in suits that were telling me what to do.
Well, I was going to ask, going back to, was it Don?
Wait a minute, before
Chivers?
you ask, please, before you ask, let's just underline this. How many people have won league championship medals? Two countries at the same time.
I know.
It's just unheard of, Rose. You're just an absolute trailblazer.
So basically I did Serie A titles, the French title, 4 Italian Cups, 2 Golden Boots, the World Cup, and there was an international football tournament in China, and I was named the world's best female footballer. And that's when
it's like the Ballon d'Or.
That's when I had a big sigh, and I said to myself, not bad for a wee lassie for Stuart that get belted, bullied, sacked.
Sin died.
That's why this story has to get told.
There's a message in this.
Yeah. Has to get told.
Absolutely. For any youngster.
Never give up. Never give up.
But we spoke about Stanley Matthews being ahead of the game. You were telling us earlier about what they now call visualisation. Yeah. And that's a big thing in sports, isn't it? But you were doing that.
I was doing it. I was already doing it. I've always visualised whatever I was going to do since I was a wee lassie. And then as a wee gallus Scottish lass at the San Siro, taking possession of the bloody San Siro.
I know. It really is. But you see, I was going to mention, was it Don Chivers, the reporter?
Stan Chivers.
Right. Did he stay in touch? Did he have any updates in the record about your progress?
Haven't Scooby, because we didn't...
Never heard back
from him? There was no communication.
No.
Many days there were no communication.
Fair play to him though, eh?
I went to his funeral. He died a few years back, and I found out and I went to his funeral. And I remember that the family car was coming by after it, the crematorium, I can't remember where it was, and I chapped on the window at the grieving wife and I said, it was thanks to Stan Chivers for my football career, and they were greeting, and they did no greeting at me, they were greeting because of it. And I think they were just looking at me and I Scooby who I was.
Right, I don't know now.
The impact of certain individuals that you never ever forgot about.
No.
But the impact that you've had on a generation of young footballers now coming through. Because I've seen a lot of interviews, you joined the Scottish national team You spoke to them, didn't you?
Yep.
And I think that you are like a beacon of success for women's football now. How does that feel all these years later, now that the SFA have accepted women's football and accepted you?
Well, I had an interview that Sky Sports phoned me for an interview from London, and I love it when it's English that want an interview maybe, because, you know, instead of interviewing the Lionesses, they've got this all Scottish footballer. So for me, that's a big thing. So anyway, it was this lady, and she said to me, "Oh, Rose," she said, "we've just found out that a couple of the English players, the Lionesses, have got £1 million sponsorship for Nike sports bras. Are you not angry or jealous? You went through your amazing career and without these kind of riches." So I said to her, "Have you got kids?" She says, "Yes, I've got 2. I says, "Are you jealous of your kids?" She says, "No." I says, "They're my kids."
Great answer.
So the Scotland team, the girls team and the Celtic team, obviously, they're my wains, they're my kids, they're my daughters, and I would do anything for them. I mean, I'm so proud just now as a Celtic Women's Ambassador that Celtic we qualified for the Champions League. Yeah. Unfortunately, we lost the other night to 20, the FC 20, the Dutch side, because we've still got a long way to go, but we did qualify, and it's all about learning curve, you know what I mean? We're learning, and you only learn against the big teams. You don't learn against the rubbish teams.
And they weren't humbled, were they? I mean, 2-0, the Celtic Women's.
No. We could have done better. Yeah. That's always my motto. We could have done better. We've got a lot of injuries out just now, a few girls that we need, but I would like to say hello to Chloe Craig. Chloe was one of the first ones, along with Kelly, the Celtic captain, that started playing for Celtic Women when it was just an amateur team. Chloe's from Glasgow.
Chloe's coming on the show because I'm friends with Albert, who's Chloe's dad, and I've already asked if Chloe would come, and Chloe said she would love to come on the show.
Right, so. Chloe has got an ACL, that's a ligament, so she'll be out for a year, and it's terrible that this girl who was a pioneer, a Celtic pioneer for Celtic when there was nothing there, gets the Champions League and can't play it. Oh. So so Chloe, see some of the trophies I won. It's for you as well, Hen. I didn't know you then, but you can have some of mine.
And she'll be back. Chloe will be back.
She'll be back, but you have to remember that Chloe was one of the players that got us to the Champions League in the first place.
Definitely. Yeah, without a doubt. And hopefully she'll get the opportunity as well, Rose. I've liked the charisma of the coaches in the last few seasons. I thought Fran Alonso was a character, but Elena Sadakush, there's absolutely no stopping her as well. There's a bit of grit about her, Rose, as well.
Elena's arrogant and ballsy, and that's not a criticism, because that's what it takes. That's what you need to be a winner sometimes. Folk will think arrogance is something bad, but it isn't. It's believing in yourself. And if you don't believe in yourself, how can others believe in you? So she has to transmit her belief onto her girls, which comes across perhaps as arrogance, but it's not, it's believing in yourself. Yeah. And she's the youngest coach. She's only 30 in the Champions League. Her career, Ellen, she played for Sweden at international level, and she had severe injuries to both of her knees, so she had to give it up. But then she started her coaching badges, and she's coached in China, Everton ladies, and whatever teams I can remember. So kudos for Celtic that had the insight to get somebody like Ellen and having the belief in her, the same belief that she's got in herself.
You talk about affinities with teams. Do you have an affinity with AC Milan as well, because of all the success you had over there?
Absolutely. AC Milan. I mean, when I was growing up, my teams were Celtic, Real Madrid, because it's the only strip I could afford, because it was just a white T-shirt and white shorts. It wasn't really a strip, but again, it was Real Madrid. And AC Milan, I thought, no, I'm going for the best. AC Milan, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of an era where I was growing up in the 80s, and there was a movie that's a bit of a cult film called Gregory's Girl.
Right.
Did they model a wee bit of that on your life?
No, they modelled all of it. I was 2 years in Italy when, I think it was Versailles, that produced this film. Funnily enough, it was a wee blonde lassie starting to play football, and there was a phrase in the film, and nowadays you never said anything like this, and it's "Ciao bella." So I'm in Italy, wee blonde Scottish lassie, and then they make a film about this.
Yeah.
So Chris Young, who is the movie producer that did In Between Us, is making a film about me. It's in the pipeline.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant.
I don't know if it'll be In Between Us. You never know.
Long overdue.
So his friend is it Frederick Forsyth? I can't remember his first name. And I says, tell that bugger that he owes me a fortune. Tell that bugger he owes me a fortune.
Aye, royalties.
Aye, but of course there's nothing to prove, is there? Bill, if you're listening to this show, let's meet up, pal.
Listen, we're in awe at these inspirational shows. What are films if they're not things that take you through emotional journeys? What an emotional journey! You're going to end up leaving the cinema with tears strolling down your cheeks because here's this young female that's been told all the time, play football, belt, play football, expelled from school, play football, lose your job, play football, banned for Scotland, still plays football and goes on, not just to win the World Cup, but to win the award of the world's best player. Yeah. Rose, listen, if that's no Hollywood, what is? It's just a beautiful story. Beautiful.
It's incredible. I mean, when you come back to Scotland after because you played until you were 40, which...
I played professional football in Italy till I was 40. Yeah. Then when I stopped, I was on my own. Let's say I was married to football. That was my be-all and end-all. And I opened up a sports shop in Italy, REILLY Sport.
Right.
So I was thriving. I had my penthouse flat. My only problem is what kind of colour a silk blouse to wear that day. Knew I've not got a silk blouse, so problem resolved. So when I was there, when I given up my football career, I started running like marathons, but on my own, nothing official, just always on my own. And the local policemen, the team, asked me if I'd play with them. They always wanted me to play with them, but I couldn't play with them because of insurance, because I was playing in the women's game. So I started playing with the men, the policemen, or the mafia. I can't remember what one it was. One.
The same interlinked.
Aye. Anyway, I was playing with them, and it was the first artificial pitches, and I tore my calf muscle, which I'd never been injured, serious injuries in my whole professional career. And I didn't have a physio, so I didn't have a team. And somebody said, oh, there's a wee Argentinian doctor in a private clinic. He's really good. He's a sports doctor. So off I went, and I met Norberto, my future husband.
It's very, very sad because, as you know, I've been trying to get Rose to come on the show for so long. And sadly, a few months ago, Norberto died, and Rose is heartbroken because she loved him so much.
But anyway, I fell in love with Norberto because he spoke Italian like Maradona, so it was a football related. We got married when I was 44. We got married on Christmas Eve in Italy. The place where I lived and where I had my sports shop, it's called Trani. It's in the deep south of Italy. It's near Bari, the biggest city, about 100 miles south of Naples. So I was friendly with the mayor. Everybody knew me in Trani. And he phoned me and says, oh, you know how you have to, is it the bands it's called? You have to put something up and that I was getting married to Norberto or whatever in case I was a serial killer or whatever. And nobody objected. So he said, that's it, Rose. It was 23rd of December. He says, your bands are up tomorrow, the 24th, Christmas Eve. I says, that's fine, just put me down. I'll get married on Christmas Eve. He says, oh, it's Christmas Eve, you know, Catholic country and all that. He said, it's closed. I says, you're the mayor, you know, get the key. Open. So he opened it.
Wow.
And I get married on Christmas Eve. Just me, Norberto, and 2 witnesses. Then Norberto said, could we go over honeymoon to Brazil, in Argentina? That's where he's from. He's from Buenos Aires. In the summer when I've got holidays for this private clinic. I says, no bother. But in the meantime, I wasn't feeling well one day, about a couple of months after I'd get married, and I'd actually run half a marathon that day in the midday sun. And I felt terrible when I come home, and he was egging off his head, you know, you're running. But as I've always done that, I don't feel well and whatever. So you guys won't know this, but when you're an elite female athlete, your period can disappear. So I didn't have a period for 2 years, and you have an early menopause because basically you've kind of battered your body physically for all these years. So I was menopause. Well, I thought it was. I didn't have my period for 2 years, but here I was pregnant.
Wow.
I had my daughter when I was 45. Didn't read the rule books, did I? And
you wrote the rule book, Rose.
Valentina Megan Bridget Peralta was born in Italy.
Brilliant. I know.
Fantastic.
Phenomenal story. Another thing that really struck me, and I understand why, and I don't speak Italian, so please forgive me. La Roccia, your nickname?
La Roccia.
La Roccia. Go and explain to us where the nickname originates.
It was one of the Italian players. It was actually the captain of the Italian team, Betty Vignotto. She said they just called me La Roccia. La Roccia, the rock.
The rock.
She's never getting knocked down, whatever happens in life.
Oh.
And for a teammate to call you that shows you how much you mean to your fellow pros. There was a great moment from the outside looking in where retrospectively you're presented with Scottish caps, international caps. I'm guessing the Sindai's been rescinded then, is it?
Haven't a Scooby. Nobody told me.
Nobody told you.
I come back here in 2000, so my daughter was born in 2000, so she's a wee millennium baby. I think everything I've done in my life is not normal, ken that? Anyway, I come back in 2000, she was about 8 months because my mum had a severe stroke. My dad had already passed away, but I managed to get back fertile in time to say goodbye to my dad in 87, I can't remember, in the 80s. My mum had a severe stroke and life-threatening, obviously, so I come flying back with Valentina and a baby papoose and whatever, and went straight to Irvine Central. My mum was lying in this kind of cot bed all twisted, and she said, don't leave me, Rose, I'm afraid. And now I hated my mother growing up because she didn't want me to play football. No, just didn't want. She was trying to stop me from playing football, but obviously you mature and you realise. And so I had a love-hate relationship with my mammy. And right as I was the only one, she said, don't leave me, I'm afraid. And I said, I promise I wouldn't leave her, because the doctor had given her a week to live. 9 years later, I was still here. She ended up in a nursing home because she needed 24-hour care, but her mind was still there, but she was paralysed and needed care. So I left everything in Italy and come over here.
In 2000?
Yeah.
And so you stayed with her for those 9?
Stayed with her. My husband, Norberto, was still in Italy, working in Italy and whatever, and then eventually he took a year out of his work, so unpaid, no money or whatever, and we stayed in my mammy's wee granny flat in Sturton. And that was it. Then when Valentina started primary school, the decision of going back to Italy was out with my hands, because it was a bit hard now, it wasn't about me. In the meantime, the newspapers had heard that I was back home and whatever, and I never ever bothered with interviews or things like that, because I just thought it was okay when I was playing at football, it'd be interesting, I'd tell them who I scored an overhead kick or whatever about the game, but once I'd stop, why would you want to interview me, kind of thing? So I got inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame in Edinburgh. So that was all the sports, like with Liz McColgan and that was a great honour. And I remember it was 2007, and I got the Monday off. My daughter took the Monday off because she was 7 for primary school, and you had to write a letter. So writes a letter, what the occasion was. And I'd say to my daughter, you're getting a day off, we're going up to Edinburgh, blah, blah, blah. She says, you're in a museum? She said, but you either have to be a dinosaur or dead. I says, well, I'll take the dinosaur because I'm still vertical. So off we go to Edinburgh, and I get piped in at the foot of Edinburgh Castle. And it was so emotional, and I thought, I'm home.
Brilliant.
Then after I was inducted into the Hall of Fame at Hampden, first female and all that, and I could feel there was resentment in the room and whatever, because I'm no daft.
What year was this? So it's the
2007 still.
Still 2007.
Aye, because they must have seen that.
Aye, they've thought, oh, we better do this or somebody will criticise us.
It was a Hilton, and it was a Lindsay Smith actually that thing with me. And I remember they were interviewing me at the Hilton. It was a big, they get the male footballers and whatever. And I can't remember what they says to me. Oh, the usual guy interviewing me. Oh, Rose, if you were like playing, if you were a guy, you would be a millionaire or a billionaire or whatever. You're not jealous of the riches of the guys up in this room. I says, I'm the richest one in this room, trophy-wise.
Wow.
But also, people going about the money, Rose, what you did was more than money. You were a trailblazer.
Doesn't have a price. My riches are what I've done.
Yeah, 100%. And you could tell not only the Scotland squad when you went to speak to them, but obviously the Celtic team as well. They're looking at you now as the epitome of an ambassador, right?
Yeah.
Scotland, as you say, were a wee bit behind in terms, you're thinking 15, 20,000 watching Italian games in the 1980s. What do you think Celtic and Scottish football can do to improve and get back up to that level? Because we're not quite there yet. We're competing in the Champions League.
What we have to do is we have to copy the English, right? When the Lionesses won the Euros, they played at Wembley in front of 70,000, Prince William giving them the trophy. They goes to the World Cup, runners-up, unfortunately. And I was one of the few Scots rooting for the English because there's a sporting hatred between England and Scotland. We know that. But for me, us women know we're different. We have to stick together. We have to grow together. We have to copy who's better than us in life, never who's worse, or just bump our gums that it's no fair, it's no level playground. No self-pity. You need to go, they're about 15 years ahead of us, even in the men's game. So we have to copy them. That's the only thing that I can't tell the SFA or teach them anything, but you always copy who's better than you.
Yeah, replicate it.
Then there was another surreal moment. This was really funny. When I got awarded the MBE. So I got awarded the MBE, and there's people against that. You know, me as an Irish Catholic and whatever, against the royal family, whatever. I've never been against anybody in my life. It was a proud moment for me. It was a proud moment for me as an Irish Catholic female footballer receiving an award, because that would never have happened before. And I always like to get into the Lions Den to make a difference.
What year was this, Rose?
It was about 3 years ago.
So this is way after 2007.
I just recently, let's say. So I was to go to Buckingham Palace, and then it was COVID, right? So it was just before COVID. So everything was on hold. And then I got a letter saying... It was funny because I didn't know where it was at the start, right? Where we were going to go, where I was going to receive it. And I phoned up St James's Palace, because that's what was on the envelope. And this posh guy answered the phone, "News, James Palace." And I said, "Oh, hi, I'm Rose Reilly, I've been awarded MBE. I said, I don't know where I have to go yet, because they tell you that they don't know the location or whatever." I said, he said, "Yes, it'll be thing." But I said, "Where's the Queen?" He said, "Pardon?" I says, where will the Queen be in that day? And he says to me, "You want something in life, you go for it, Tommy. I want the top woman." He said, "I didn't tell you this, but with Windsor Castle." I says, "Well, that's where I'll be." And he started laughing at me and put the phone down. So we didn't know what it was going to be. And then it was COVID, and that was it. Imagine phoning up and say, "Where will the Queen be?" "Oh, she's just doing it Tesco."
I don't want it unless the Queen's going to be there.
So anyway, COVID and whatever, and then I got, I was to get at Holyrood Palace. That's fine, Scotland, whatever. So off I goes, buys Norberta a wee tartan suit. He was coming me proud as Larry, not kenning that he was with the Falklands. He's like getting wee headed there. But anyway, Norberta was all proud as Larry. Off he goes to Holyrood Palace, and you still don't know who's going to give you the MBE. Again, they don't tell you. So we was in this massive room where it was all these posh folk and all Tories, these women getting MBEs for donating $500,000 maybe or whatever, and I'm sitting there, and this person comes in to, you don't have to curtsy, but to show us how to curtsy again. You're not used to curtsying, well, you don't go to your local Sainsbury's and say, excuse me, can I pay my tatties or whatever. But anyway, he was showing us the right way to curtsy, so that was it. Then he goes out, and we were still there for about an hour, so I was getting bored by this time. So I went up to all these ladies and I started curtsying to them. So I was going to try because I'd already forgot. So they got up and they started doing the same, so we had a laugh. Then all of a sudden I heard Rose Riley, I was summoned in at the next room, MBE for services to women's football. So there's two things that can happen to them. You either forget your name, your legs go, because it's such an event, goes into this big room, the violins are playing Vivaldi in the corner, and there was Princess Anne in the podium thing in her navy uniform. So I goes up and I curtsies to her. I've always got respect for whoever's in front of me. And I said, it's an honour, ma'am, to get an MBE off a fellow sportswoman. And she said, oh, nobody's ever said that to me before, Rose, because she was in the Olympics.
Right.
You know? So I was speaking to a fellow sportswoman. Then she said, forget the accent, but I'm going to say it. She said, oh, I'm reading here that you played for Italy, and then how did that come about? So I said to her, because you banned me. And she said, oh dear. So it was a nice moment between me and her, because she must have thought, well, you know, ask a question, get a straight answer.
She'll remember that.
I'm already thinking that's another scene in the film.
Nah, she'll remember
It's
that.
another scene in the film.
Talking of the film, who's playing you, Rose? Who's playing the role?
Well, at the start, I was saying that about 5 years ago, and they were saying Cameron Diaz, no, because they want a big Hollywood thing. But then I said, no, she's too old, because it needs to be somebody between 20 years of age and 30. It has to be when I was in my prime and that, having a Scooby.
Cameron
like a
Diaz is
Celtic player.
good actress.
Aye, but it's supposed to be, you know, it's a Hollywood, it's going to be a big thing. So I've been told.
I cannot wait. That's going to be tremendous, because it's cinematic, your story, your journey.
And a lot of it, obviously in Scotland, because this is where I'm born and bred, but we've also been in Italy, you know, I've seen the Homeless World Cup. I got invited to the premiere of the Homeless World Cup, and somebody said, oh, I didn't like it, the actor, the actresses and whatever. I said, if you make a film in Rome, you don't need a good actress or thing. You just look at all the... you just look at the scenery.
Do you know, I'm so furious here, because there's a quote that absolutely epitomises what you've been saying, and it's about St Paul's Cathedral, and when I'm trying to remember who did it, because what happens is, he says about St Paul's Cathedral, if you're looking for a tribute, just look around.
Yeah, that's true.
And
that's what I'm
see
saying.
what you're looking for a tribute to you. Just look what you've done, right? Look what you've achieved. That's the tribute. It's what you've done, Rose. You're just fantastic. I just love what you've done. I love your attitude. So this will be an absolute rocket of a film. It will be brilliant. Everybody will love it.
Yeah.
But whatever I'm going to do, it's always going to be in honour of the Celtic women's team and the Scotland girls. Whatever I do now, I'm so proud. How would you say that I've helped? I wasn't on my own with other pioneers to pave the way for these girls. That's my legacy. My legacy is also I'm the ambassador for Stuart and Annie Girls. And I've got a football academy along with Chris Boyd, Ayrshire College in Kilmarnock, and we've got a wee girls football academy from 5 years of age to 10. It's free coaching. They get free wee lunch packs or whatever. Great. They've got wee AC Milan steps, 7 and REILLY in the back.
Brilliant.
They're starting at 5 years of age. It's the same with my local sports centre. The Rose Riley Sports Centre, all these wee lasses which I was pushing for, Tommy, that they need to start when they're 5 years of age. They would start when they were 10. The wee boys start when they're 5. So there's you need to start them when they're young.
5 years difference.
5 years difference. Also, when the young girls go to the high school and they start like playing at football or any kind of physical activity and they're sweating, you know, they're worried about their hair or makeup or whatever. But if you're starting at 5 years of old, you're playing for your school's team, it doesn't matter if you're good, bad, fat, skinny or whatever. Can I say that nowadays, but I've said it. You've got an identity, you've got a sense of belonging, you've got a team. The good one has to help the wee one that's actually not that good. So we don't just want champions, we want a way of life.
And Rose, surely the whole ethos of health is about physical activity.
Exactly.
So why would we not encourage young females to play sports like football? Okay, I'm not anti-netball, I'm not anti other sports that females traditionally get into.
We're speaking about football. I'm here to speak about football, and I don't enter any other argument. And it's just amazing how the wee girls are learning now, because they were never taught before. Because if you've got a football match in the street, right, and you've only got 10, and it's wee boys, and you just got wee Tommy, no you, because were you good at football?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Modest, Tommy, modest.
Right, shut up, Tommy.
I wasn't fast enough. I couldn't make it.
But it doesn't matter. You get some wee random boy off the street just to fit in, he'll fit in. You can't do that with wee lasses.
Yep.
We need to coach them. It'll change, but we don't need change overnight. It was the same with the Scotland team, or now the Celtic team, now that we're in your European career. If you grow up overnight, sometimes it's too quick. It's like planting a big tree without the roots. It'll fall down. We need the roots first. So the roots are the wee lasses at 5, the wee Celtic girls that are coming up the Celtic Academy, the wee Scotland team, the schools team, the wee whatever. They're our roots. Eventually we'll get there, because the roots will be set and this tree will be gigantic. They'll never fall down.
That's brilliant. And the fact that there's now that investment up at Barrafield as well, Rose, with the women's team will be playing up there. So I mean, I just think it's great. And now, my kids, doesn't matter if they're a wee boy or a wee lassie, they can dream of playing for Celtic. But you were a pioneer in making that happen.
Total pioneer. And for somebody who starts off this show by telling us how she's inspired by Jinky Johnson, look at what you've achieved now.
Absolutely.
I mean, you've got a suite named after you at the home ground.
The new Hamilton, that's the Celtic women's new pitch at Hamilton.
Rose REILLY suite.
Aye.
You're the ambassador for Celtic.
Aye. I've got a pub named after me, Gavin Hill, the Rose REILLY.
They've written a song about you.
I've written a song, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
You're going to be a film.
Yeah.
So now you're the hero.
Despite all of that, despite all that, Rose's biggest, the memory that she always talks about as the epitome of her career was presenting the walking football Scottish Cup to me 2 years in a row. To you, Tom.
So I didn't know. Well, I knew about him because his reputation went before him. So I was at Glasgow Green a few years back, and there was hundreds of teams there, and I'm just walking about, and I thought, is that Tommy Sheridan there? Because I'd seen your mugshot.
Crime Watch UK.
And somebody said, I said, I want to go up and meet him, you know, and they said, oh, you need to watch out for him. So that's what I was proud to shake his hand, because
you are proud. If Rose comes up, we all get put in the allocated in different pitches all over Glasgow Green, hundreds and hundreds of players, all over 50, male and female, over 40s, over 50s for the males. Rose comes up, Tommy, I'm Rose REILLY, would you mind getting a photo taken with me? What a proud moment it was. What a proud moment. I get my picture taken. And then, fantastic, later on that day, she presented the cup, because we won the Scottish Cup.
I was inspiration for you.
You were the inspiration.
Right.
You were the inspiration.
But these guys that are in the walking football with Matt Ramsey at the helm, they do such amazing work. Absolutely great. Now, when I started, there was only 2 women's team.
Right.
I don't know how many, but 35 now.
Oh, easy.
I always remember.
Easy.
And Matt Ramsey, who's he's so funny. So there was an
He's a lovely guy, but he has got a wee bit of imperfection. He has a blue nose, so. But anyway, he's a nice guy.
Doesn't matter. So anyway, there was a walking football tournament at Tory Glen, and it was women, and there was English teams there as well. I think they were from Manchester, international. And so Matt introduces me, and I was going to kill him, as the national treasure, you know, the Judi Dench kind of thing. And I was drawing him daggers. He says, Dr. Rose Reilly, MBE. That's right. I've got honorary degrees. Her name, see that? I've got honorary degrees. That saved me going to school, innit? It was
Caledonian University. Whatever. My alma mater.
So anyway, he introduced me, Dr. Rose Reilly, MBE, national treasure, and I was going to kill him for this, right? So later on that day, I went to the toilets, and there was this English woman there with an arrogance, an older woman that was playing Wattle Fitbit, and she says to me, she just looked me up and down, she says, excuse me, she said, why do they call you the national treasure? With disdain. And I looked at her and I said, because everything I've done in life, you haven't.
Bang, bang. That's the way to deal with that, Rose. Bang, bang.
Yeah.
But you're used to people not believing in you, Rose. You know, you've seen that all the way through your career. And like Tommy says, it went full circle from you having a hero in your younger days, and that was Jinky. And now there's a loads of kids growing up. You can be their hero. Is that ever sank in? Do you realise that?
No.
Too humble?
You're too humble for that.
No, I'm not humble. It's just, humble. I don't like that. And get back to the Rangers things, Tommy. I used to go to Parkhead one week in Ibrox the next, because I've seen Jim Baxter and John.
Right, okay. You appreciated football.
I appreciate, and I was at the Ibrox disaster and left about 5 minutes before it all.
Wow.
But the thing that impressed, that remained in my mind was I used to go to Ibrox, and Ian Paisley was ranting outside. I was terrified for him because he was gigantic and he was always in a rant, like angry. Then I went to Parkhead and it was Pastor Jack Glass, and I thought, we need somebody better than him. We need a Tommy Sheridan to shout his lot.
But you just appreciated good football. That's why you went
absolutely.
to Parkhead and Ibrox.
Yeah. Even though I'm a Celtic supporter, that doesn't change. That doesn't, absolutely not.
And we're learning new things all the time. The fact you were at that dreadful disaster at Ibrox as well.
Yeah.
Rose, you know.
And I was with Edna, and we left about maybe 5 minutes before the end. We didn't know what had happened. And we went, she came for Rocchese, we went there to reenact the game. It was about 100 aside. Don't lumps each other. There wasn't much football getting played. But anyway, and I was staying at Edna's that night, and my mum and dad, nobody had phones.
Well, I was just about to say to you, because my dad was there, and my uncle was there, and of course, nobody knew.
No.
Whether anybody had been connected with it.
Do you know when I
fortunately, there was a phone box that somebody used to use, that they phoned the pub, and they were able to then get information, because nobody had the phones in their houses.
No, we learned out the Sunday Post.
Right.
Because the Sunday Post...
The next day.
And I went straight home. It was just surreal.
Mm-hmm. Well, how do you cope now, Rose, when you go to watch football? And I'm talking male and female now. Mm-hmm. Do you sit and appreciate it as a spectacle, or are you still looking at it from a point of view of what you would do?
No. Well, whatever, I kick every ball, but I've still got fire in my belly. Absolutely. That I would like to transmit. Do you know who wanted to meet me the other week there and have a photo with me? Brendan Rodgers.
Brilliant. Well, why not?
Because his wife wanted to meet me with his daughter, because they'd seen my documentary and said, what an inspiration.
And what a documentary. This is a Scottish Icons one.
That came after, because when I was over to look after my mum at the start, my mum's house, there was a landline eventually after 100 years. And this person had phoned up, and it was Margot McQuaid, who was the head of Purple Television, BBC Alba at the time. And she left a message. She says, "Oh, hi Rose, Margaret McQuaid here, BBC Alba would like to make a documentary about you." And I thought, oh, fuck this. And I just put the phone down and didn't answer. Because I was in a situation that I just brought the two most important people in my life. My wee lass had just come into the world, and my mum was going out. So I was dealing with that. My husband was still in Italy. Yep. Didn't have enough money, just didn't know what was happening.
Right,
so I never answered. So 5 years down the line, Tommy, I did have my glasses on, I didn't see the number, and I answered the phone, and it was Margot. For fuck's sake, Rose Reilly, this is Margot McQuaid.
5 years later?
Aye. So I meet her at the central station. No, the wedding start yet, it wasn't there, it was another clock. He says, I'll meet you at the wedding start. I didn't get there was one.
We were meeting at Central Station, and so I think I'm early, just in case Rose thinks I'm not. And I say, Rose, what platform are you arriving at? Rose texts back, I'm already here, where are you? And I'm saying, I don't know, where will we meet? And I seen there's a big wooden statue. I said, we'll meet at the wooden statue. You know, it was like first date.
I responded, where's that eyebrows?
That's a crime. I've got it on my phone. And Stephen Millen was with me. And I said, look at the message for Rose. Because I said, meet under the wooden statue. She says, where's the wooden statue? Eyebrows. Brilliant. Sense of humour. Excellent. But you meet Margot.
Meet Margot, and she gave me into bother because I didn't want to make a documentary because I said, why would folk be interested? I really didn't, I don't know, I just did things, that was it. My motto always has been, Tommy, don't think, just do.
Just do.
Just do it. And Margot gave me into bother. She said, to this generation, blah, 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 my story has to be told, and that's what we did. And we went to Italy as well, and we reenacted the fire. Margot, thanks Margot, you're a darling.
Well done, Margot. It was a brilliant show.
There you go. Imagine Tommy Sheridan actually saying that to you, Margot.
There you go.
And the thing is, Margot also had the Jimmy Johnson documentary, so you're in good company, Rose.
Yeah, and then there was the wee Maureen Carr produced the Rose Reilly play, and she wanted to meet me, and she said, I'd like to make I'd met her at Central Station. Central Station, never at Wooden Start. Yeah, he was under the clock. Whoever wants to meet me, or even if you don't, I'll just go with whoever's standing under the clock. You can buy my coffee, whoever you are. So meets up with wee Maureen, and Maureen's in a hurry. I'd never met her before. Right, we'll go for a wee coffee inside the Central Station. Rose, I've only got half an hour. I'm the BBC, CBBS or whatever it was called. I've only got half an hour. 3 years later, we're still there. And I said, how can you make a play about me? It's fit down, whatever. No. And anyway, she made the play, and the lovely Lorna Martin had written it, and Christina Strachan was the actress, and it was actually a good success. But there was, we were at what's a place called in Green, at the Beacon.
Oh, yeah.
We were at the Beacon, and I used to go for a Q&A after it with the actress up on the stage and whatever. So after it, this lassie comes towards me, and she was greeting. Just the emotion of the whole story and whatever. And she says, you're my hero, Rose. And I says, thanks very much. But she looked kind of familiar. It was Jinky's daughter.
Oh, man.
So
Talk about full circle.
So I was, Jinky's my hero, and I'm the hero for Jinky's daughter.
What?
I should have known. She's got this long red hair, white pasty bandy legs. I says, your legs are just like your dad's.
Just like your dad's. Brilliant.
So we met up, and we're friends now. We're keeping in touch with each other.
That's brilliant to hear. Listen, I've enjoyed every single moment of that. You are an inspiration, Rose.
Thank you.
I really mean that. And I'm just so thankful that you shared your story with us today.
No,
Thanks
you're
so
great
much
guys, because sometimes I don't connect with whoever's interviewing me. You know, you need good vibes to get along. And you're all right.
Well, it's been a pleasure.
All right.
It's been a pleasure. We usually shake hands with our guests.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Oh, that's
Lovely.
you.
That's his broke
That's
the set.
his broke the whole set.
Thanks again for joining us on A Celtic State of Mind. What a journey our guest has been on, Rose Reilly, an inspiration to anyone kicking a football in Scotland and beyond. Join us again next Friday night, for this is A Celtic State of Mind.